we're here for one last shot, one last chance to pull my final over trigger. I know I got plenty of other stuff to mess with, and I'm most likely going to be making a good like 6 decks so far, maybe 7. But I really do want to try to get that last over trigger for the only clan left that I haven't pulled one for, Hades. As I mentioned earlier, there was I think I've read off 2 of the over triggers so far. I read off the one for Sanctum, and I read off the one for Dragon Nation. Um, Dragon Nation, literally, you get to attack a second time with your Vanguard if you've attacked already this turn, which that's the only way to really reveal triggers on your own turn is if you attacked with your Vanguard. So yeah, effectively you get a dual attack in. And then Sanctums is every rear guard you have in the any rear guard that you attack with gets to do a drive check, which gives you lots of card advantage. Oh my god. And there it is. There's my Hades. Perfect. Now I have a over trigger for every clan. Alright, now we can just take a breather, take a moment, enjoy the rest of the packs. I was starting to get a little worried too. I'm like, I just really want that Hades so I could build the last clan. Hades' effect is for the rest of the game, you get plus 10,000 power and an extra critical, right? Yeah. During your turn, all of your vanguards get plus 10,000 power and 1 extra critical till the end of the fight. So I might have to double. It says all of your vanguards. So I think that even if you were like level 2, grade 2, that buff lasts your whole game. So even if you put a different Vanguard over it, you will permanently have that bonus. Otherwise, that's kind of a boner. It's like, oh, I'm grade 1, I revealed my over trigger. That buff will go away at the end of the turn. Or it will go away effectively at the end of the turn because I wrote over it. So I will have to just verify that errata. The fact that it says end of the game kind of makes me think that it's supposed to last longer. But yeah, at the very least, when you're grade 3 and you do that, you get your buff, and you'll always be swinging for 20,000. Did I do this wrong? You are a double rare. What in the world am I doing with you? Finish. Save your there for the next one. So it's a big advantage for later, especially because even on your opponent's next turn, if you don't kill him, when you reveal your over trigger, it's just harder for your opponent to even hit you. It's almost like having a constant trigger buff on your own Vanguard. Best defense is a good offense. Well, this is kind of the reverse. Best offense is a good defense. Yeah, I completely forgot with the to read the effects of the last 2 over triggers. But that's fine. Every so often I see a triple R and I think that that is a higher rarity. And I remembered, oh right, the SPs have like no text box. And I looked it up. I think the SP of this guy that I pulled is actually, other than the DSR, it's the highest valued card. Thunk. Looks like an M to me. Oh god. Usually I tear those a little bit more smooth. M again. I definitely feel like there should be at least a good 10 decks in this set that should be able to be built. But I might be wrong. I thought like the whole purpose of them doing it in this format was to give support, like global support pretty much for an entire nation, but certain cards work better with each other than others. So more or less should have 2 or 3 deck support or deck specific support cards per nation. So maybe there's more like 15 decks that are playable now. Oh, and that's also in addition to the cards that were out in the trial decks, because a lot of this is supposed to support the trial deck cards. Alright, another SP Perfect card. Wow. This one is for Sanctum. Thank you, Sanctum. Just double check they're in there. 5. Looks like I put one of the wrong ones here. Which one of you are... Okay, so this is an M, and I put this one here as a double into the M pile. Otherwise, those 4 there. That's fine. You're going to go there. I'll try to pay better attention on the next one. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Sweet. But yeah, with Flesh and Blood becoming more and more popular, Pokemon still being so high, and Magic, as always, being like top dog, it's hard to see where Vanguard really fits in popularity-wise. Alright, and of course Yu-Gi-Oh still exists, but like I honestly don't know people that play Yu-Gi-Oh competitively. It's almost always like you find somebody, ask them if they play Yu-Gi-Oh. If the answer is yes, you ask, but do you really? Or find out like when did they stop collecting? Because there are so many updated rules, and like literally when they change the way the play mat works, that threw so many people for a loop. So yeah, you just gotta find common ground before you start playing a game of Yu-Gi-Oh with somebody. Especially with there being like the biggest, I think it was for a while, the biggest ban list that was around. For Vanguard, for the longest while, there was like no ban list. Then as more cards kept getting released, they're like, okay, we could take these things off the ban list, put these other things on the ban list. And so it was more of a easier rotation. You didn't have to memorize a giant freaking list of like 60 cards. Just because certain cards worked in such great combination with each other. They're like, no, this is unfair. Nobody else even touches this combo. And it's all around the tournament circuit right now. So hopefully there's nothing like that for D series, at least for a fair bit. Oh, that's right. I also have to like reorganize my backpack. I have a backpack with a whole bunch of double spaced deck boxes. So I had the option to play with like a variety of different Vanguard decks at a time. But now that there's an entirely different wave of Vanguard, I need to like dump all those out. So much more organization to go through. Ugh. It's like when your hobby becomes your second job. You know that you're dedicated. Alright, there's a triple. It's like you get a job for your livelihood and to fund your hobbies. You have to spend all this time making sure your hobbies are in good condition. Otherwise, every time you want to pick up and play, it's just like, nope, not possible. Double attack over trigger. Oh man, it's a good thing this isn't in the clan, in Sanctum. Ooh, SP critical. Very nice. There was a clan, I guess it would be in Sanctum now. It was called Genesis. And their whole stick was... Oh, dang, this had like even more rares? I'll have to double check that. Maybe I put like a whole bunch of extra rares in here, because I definitely thought I saw a second rare in addition to the SP. Okay, cool. This one only had the one rare. That's fine. The Genesis had this cool thing where they had a guy that could pretty much do, instead of it being an attack, You have a drive check to see if you get a trigger, as long as it's your Vanguard. And then your grade 3s have twin drive. You reveal 2 cards instead of 1. They had a dude that would have the chance to have a 5 drive check. It was awesome. His stick was, you look at the top X cards of your deck, grab one of them, and whatever grade that card is, that is your drive check. He himself was a grade 5, so if you're running 4 copies of him, when he attacked, if you revealed a duplicate of him, that lets you drive 5. And that's also in addition to your Vanguard attacking, so you could get 7 drive checks in a turn. Very unlikely, but when it happened, it was almost GG. Some people could survive it, but most people, they're like, okay, let's go to round 2. It's just so satisfying when it got to happen. There was also a clan where this chick's based off of. They could get up to that point too, but they had, I would argue, less hoops to jump through in order to get that drive 5. However, it would have a way less of a payoff, like just hands down, because she could only drive 5. It wasn't like the other guys where it's drive 5 and then drive another 2. It was just more consistent, but just wouldn't be as devastating. Also because people knew exactly what you were going for way ahead of time, and there were ways to kind of prevent it. The other guy's drive 7 turn was a little harder to prevent. The way you prevent it was win the game. Win the game before they get to pull off their combo. That's it. If you didn't win the game, you played too slow and they got to go off. Always love the grade 3 alien. Do 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 do. Gotta love when they turn the lights off, cause then you get the power buffs. Do 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 do. Double. I did pre-order some of this set that is kind of like a reprint of the starter decks. It's like they reprint the starter decks along with a few exclusive cards, and the reprints are like foil treatment pretty much. So it's more of a stylized everything from the starters. But the exclusive cards to that set I'm hoping are going to be pretty strong. I know when they did that in the V series, there were a few exclusives that were like pretty much, they seemed amazing, but they were so unique, like it was hard to fit that playstyle. But if you did fit that playstyle, then hooray, you got some really cool buffs. I didn't see it often enough in the tournament though, so that's why I'm not too sure how good they were. Okay, that's just a regular M. I was like, ooh, another SP already. No, not SP. Not SP in the slightest. Ugh, ugh. Double R, okay. I was worried that the thing was sliding out of its regular position and I might let it get damaged, might let it get dirty. Okay, M. Okay, so now I'll actually read this. Draw a card. When you reveal this, you immediately draw a card. And then if it's your turn, you draw another card. Choose another unit and gets +1 critical for the turn. All of your front row units get plus 10,000 power. If your damage zone has more cards than your opponents, choose a card and heal it. So that's awesome. It effectively can be like a double heal. Well, not really a double heal, sorry. So it kind of feels like it gets the effects of all the triggers. It gets the draw trigger, because you draw a card. You give someone critical, the critical trigger. You give the entire front row plus 10,000 power, front trigger. And then you heal it. If you have, oh, this one's specific though. If your damage zone has more than your opponent. So usually heal triggers are if you have equal or more damage. This one specifically says more. So it's sort of like getting all triggers at once, just slightly nerfed. That is fine. Card, draw, and front row buff, all good things. Like if you get the heal, like that's a little too OP, I guess, if they didn't put that buff on there. Or put that slight nerf on there. There's my SP. Oh, damn, it's a grade 0 SP. The grade 0, like I mentioned before, you pick a grade 0 and that is the starting character for you, your starting Vanguard. They, the ones that you're supposed to run with have that little effect. When this unit is rode upon and you went second, you draw a card. Like I said, there's no symbol in the corner, and they are the only ones that have that little effect there. It only really works if they are your starting Vanguard. You can definitely choose other grade 0s, but like, why would you when this can, in theory, get you an extra card every game? And since you have to start as a grade 0, sometimes those are some of the more expensive cards, even though, I don't know, like, why would you really need it? Especially when, like, starter decks give you those things. Commons could be your grade 0 that you ride from. It's just extra. If you want to be extra, you go for it. You go back to these other sleeves. Funk. Man, the probability of getting DSR must be low. Almost all the way through these. Every case is 20 cards, or 20 boxes, and I had 15 here in front of me. That means unless one of those 5, like unless I had a 25% chance of just not pulling it, those things must be ridiculously rare. Verify. Yep. 5 M's, 5 doubles, 4 triples, 1 SP, 1 OR. We do be done, and last 2. Yeah, I really should just load up some really low volume, like public domain music, just so there's something other than dead silence when I'm opening these. But maybe that'll be for next time. I feel like I don't talk very loud on these, so it would have to be incredibly low volume public domain music to do that. Because I want to be able to be heard. Not that anything I'm saying is terribly important, but for those that do find it, give it value, I don't want to make their job any harder. Yum. Put that in the wrong spot. Put everything in the wrong spot. How dare. Commons. We're gonna go there. Cool. Thunk. It is cool when things get to like super stack. Like let's say that over trigger for the Green Nation went off, gave you your crits, your everything in the front row got power, draw a card, blah blah blah. Let's say you Persona rode that turn, so everything in the front row got plus 10,000 power for the turn. Then you got your over trigger plus 10,000 power for your entire front row. Then you got a front trigger plus another 10,000 for your front row. Your team is already at a plus 30 for the turn. Not remotely necessary. But it is pretty cool to just be like, okay, for the rest of this turn, everything is just insanity. Do you have this many perfect guards? The answer is yes. That means they drew 100 billion cards and probably sacrificed a lot of damage potential in order to have a hand like that. typically the answer should be no. Triple rear. Yeah, downside of a camera being so far away is because it's not a very like high quality camera. Ooh, another over trigger. Yeah, I did the thing. Okay, yeah, this had 2 rares in it. I'm sorry, this is not my over trigger. This is my SP. So that's my first SP over trigger. Love it. Love it for days. So that means this pack might actually have... Oh, and I didn't read this one. So, in addition, double the attack and critical of all of your front row units until the end of turn. So, that's pretty ridiculous. Because you could definitely do your Persona ride, give them everybody in the front row plus 10,000. And then if you pulled that afterwards, everything in the front row should have an additional 20,000 at that point. Because if something's under 10,000 power, why were they in the front row to begin with? There's the other one. Awesome times. Awesome times. Pulling 2 of the exact same over trigger in the same box. So, standard SP. Cooled beans. Sadly, only one of them gets to be used per deck. You also more or less shouldn't be banking on the fact that you're going to over trigger every game, since there's only 1 per 50 cards. And only certain decks even get to more or less stack the deck. And it's usually, well, I guess in the end it should be these guys. Sanctum ran with the oracles, so the oracles would be the ones that are like, look at the top card of your deck, put it back on top or put it at the bottom. Then there's also like her, I think she lets you legit put triggers back on top of your deck, but it can't be over it, doesn't look like. Put your critical, or I think that's draw trigger on top of your deck. Maybe it's front. I don't know, it's a little hard to tell because it's literally just a color. Well, it might actually be a symbol, but like I can't translate that symbol. Let's see, do I have a front? Okay, so draw trigger is like a 13 flipped upside down. Front trigger is like a real elaborate Japanese looking symbol. So let me double check that. Yeah, that definitely looks like a very elaborate looking symbol. Does not look like a 13. So maybe it is like straight draw or I mean critical or front trigger. There goes the double. Okay. 5, 4, so I did something wrong. Triple, 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 triple. And you're the double. I don't know why I keep thinking that you're a triple rare. You are not. I'm not going to give you free upgrades. But alright, my first SP over trigger. Very nice. So down to the last box. Do I get the DSR, or at the very least, do I get a second Hades? Because right now I only have 1, which I'm very grateful for. I could at the very least make the deck. But if I want to run 2 decks from that nation, I would like to have their nation-specific over trigger. Otherwise, the other option is running out one of these little guys, which I'm not too keen on doing. That, or I just trade for an extra. Oh, haven't paid attention, but I don't think I got this sleeve yet. Not like it should matter. I'm looking over there. It looks like I have a lot of purple and reds, and like a little bit of blue. But I definitely don't see like a peach color. triggers. SP again. Alright. So grade 2 SP for the Green Nation. The nation that has the everything trigger. Triple. God, going through the comms is going to take so long. I would like to get it over organized. That is just not going to be an easy task. There's legit why game store owners have so many people that just stay in the back because they need to organize everything. Organize and then slot it all into the system so that way they have a detailed list of singles. So that way nobody can just walk off with stuff. That's a nice looking M though. I'm curious if they're going to release something other than the Persona rides. Or maybe they will still keep Persona Ride, but they'll have different effects in the future. Instead of just entire front row gets a buff. In Vanguard V, they had this thing called gift markers. Some people would give you a protect gift marker, which every time you were to obtain a gift marker, you would, or the protect one, you would get an extra sentinel card, a perfect card, straight into your hand, just out of the game. So you would have, there's my over trigger. You'd be able to block more hits. That's why they were like the protect clan. Then they had the Excel clans, which every time you would ride the grade 3, it would give you an additional front row. And if something was in that front row circle, they had plus 10,000 power. One of the big reasons they had to do that, though, is if something is in an additional front row circle and there was no way to give it a back row, there was no way to give it the power to hit an opponent's Vanguard. It's like if that thing itself wasn't strong enough to hit the opponent's Vanguard, then it can't do damage, and it's just a giant waste of everyone's time. And then the last one was, I think it was just called Force. You could put a plus 10,000 power marker on any rear guard or Vanguard circle. So anything on that was just extra power. Then they released a second version of everything. The Protect 2 marker gave a rear guard circle plus 5,000 power and I think plus 10,000 defense. So you would want to put them on the front rows because they're harder to hit. And then if they intercepted, they'd intercept for typically 15,000 power, which is insanity for most cards. The Force 2 changed the base critical of the unit to 2. So if you put it on your Vanguard is always going to hit for 2 minimum. And then if you pulled a critical trigger and added it to your Vanguard, you'd be hitting for 3, which is awesome. However, when you're trading 10,000 power for an extra damage, it's a big gamble. Because a lot of people would just throw a lot of defense at the Vanguard then. And or you wouldn't even have to throw that much, really, because the Vanguard doesn't have that 10,000 bonus they normally would. Okay. Double, regular rare. That's the one that doesn't belong. Cool. So I got my 5, got my 4, and got my over with SP. Alright, so that is the entire lot of it. So, I'm not going to spread out all of the non-significant rares. I was planning on just showing the spread of all the triples and SPs and stuff, though. Thunk, thunk. Yeah, just bear with me for this organizational part. Triples. Okay, so you're the SPs. Your SP over triple. SP over everything else. Triples. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. 5 overs. Almost got one of every clan in that one. Nice. Yeah, I got 2 red, 1 green, 1 yellow, 1 blue. So the only one in this box I didn't get was the gray one. So I'll just check on the other ones to read off what the gray over trigger was. Oh no, this is the gray one. Sorry, the yellow one is the one that's just like every person that attacks, you get to do drive checks for every rear guard. I'm dumb. I'm gonna go read that one real quick because I don't think I fully grasped what that meant. Okay, so and the other stuff here's, I think in the second video, these are all the triples. Hunts. There we go. So yeah, until the end of turn, you will perform drive checks for battles with your rear guard attacks. Sanctum is the clan that a lot of times you want to run tons of grade 3s. Grade 3s do twin drives. So it's not just you're revealing one per every rear guard that's attacking. Every rear guard is pretty much drive checking twice. So you attack with your Vanguard first. If this is one of the triggers, you still have another trigger that's or another drive check happening. And if you attack with, let's say you attack with 3 other rear guards, because there should be ways to attack with at least 1 back row rear guard, then that's another 6 cards you're drive checking. So I was impressed because I thought I was talking about like a clan that in the V series was able to drive check up to 7 times in one turn. If this is one of the triggers that you reveal on an attack, you can pull off an 8 drive check turn. Maybe 10 or 12 if you're a crazy person and somehow attack with all the rear guard circles. Even if you don't win on that turn, your following turn you have at least a 12 card hand, which is disgusting. I'm absolutely not opposed to the fact that I have so many of these now, even though I can't use a ton of them. I just like the idea that I can now try to run different varieties of that deck to try to pull off the 12 drive check turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's all the SPs and all the triples. Bish. All right. So just gonna quickly go through. Well, you guys already know. Here's the. I think I just want to see how many of each one I pulled off on this. We already know I only got one of the blue. There he is. Soul Survivor. I barely got 2 of the gray. I did not realize that. So yeah, I got 4 of the green, 4 red, 4 them, and 2 of the regular version of the gray. I really wish I knew all the nations' names so I could just roll those off one after another. And only 1 of the blue. But the gray, there's 1 additional one in the SPs. SPs. I don't think a lot of these are worth all that much. Like the triggers, I don't think are too insane. The perfect guards, pretty cool looking. Grade 3. The fact that you don't have to shuffle in your grade 3s, I think is amazing. So put that to the side. SP, but it's for a non-triple rare SP. More trigger. This is another one you don't ever shuffle into your deck, so I think that's pretty chill too. And then let's go and take a quick peek. This is going to take a while to organize. And they're in completely different sleeves from each other, so it's going to be a bit of a pain. But yeah, just going to go through some of those. Look at that. Loving it. Loving it. 15 boxes a little overkill, but since the series had just started, I want to get a real good foundation for the series, like the new gameplay. I want to also verify that I have 4 of these. I'm pretty sure I do, but two. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I'm gonna just cut it there. Not gonna flip through anymore. Can barely hold on to my cards as it is. Yeah, there's the fourth one. Awesome. All right. So, massive party file right at the end, but I thank you guys for checking in, and I hope to see some more people interested in this game, especially now that it has pretty much done a restart. And it seems a lot more new player friendly now that they have the entire ride deck set aside. Hope you guys had fun. Have a great weekend.